All right, good morning or good evening, everyone. It's boiling down to that time of the month where we hold our monthly community AMA. I think it's safe to say that it's been a crazy quarter one for 2025. News of Trump tariffs for IXS, rebrand here and there. I think partnerships, amazing announcements from the team as well. Everything has just been cracking down the first quarter of the year, and then I feel like it's just high time. Everyone's been waiting for this AMA. So, in order to get things started, as usual, I would love to introduce our other host for tonight. Of course, joining us is CEO and co-founder of InvestX and IXS, Julian Kwan, and Aaron Ong, who is also the co-founder, should be joining us shortly. But yeah, maybe Julian, you'd like to start with some a forward for the community.
Hey, G. Thanks for all your hard work in putting this on today. And hi, everyone else. Thanks for joining, taking time out of your busy days. We always appreciate the support and all the activity from the community. We also try to we want to be very punctual and professional, so we'd like to kick off on time for all those that have decided to turn up. I think Aaron's here as well, but let me kind of kick off. Yeah, so as Gene said, I mean, I guess we can. We'll I probably reflect on the first 3.5 months of this year. We just finished Q1, uh, and so yeah. So we've seen. I think we had a. So if we go kind of macro industry wise, we kind of had a very bullish, or at least from the crypto community, we had a very positive uh, understanding, acceptance, excitement around what the new US administration was saying around blockchain, digital assets, crypto, etc. And my take on it was that we had Trump had incredible advisors when he basically summarized what he was going to do for the blockchain space. He couldn't have he pinpointed 10 things, or maybe there were more, and he couldn't have really said anything more positive about fixing the regulations, clarifying the regulations, fixing the banking system, creating a clear boundary for all different types of projects and tokens, reducing the pain for startups to getting debanked with the choke point 2.0, which is a horrible episode for all startups, blockchain startups. And they couldn't get a bank account, or they lost their bank accounts, and we experienced that as well. So it's a massive global problem, and they turned it all around. But what happened since then is we've obviously seen insane economic volatility around statements and strategies that are being deployed by the current US administration, which is really shaking the investor community globally, uh, shaking the confidence out. So, what that's meant is that all of the positive news related to our industry and RWA in particular has kind of been lost. At least most people haven't heard about it. And I think I wrote something on X last week, a couple of weeks ago. I said like the amount of positive um, news coming out of just America, which will resonate throughout the rest of the world, well, at least in March, had never been more positive for crypto. So it was completely opposite to the price kind of destruction that was going on across most coins besides Bitcoin. So that was kind of frustrating and annoying. It's kind of a weird situation when the actual real information, the real news, the real activity is extremely positive. And but crypto is still just another asset in the world of human investing. So if everything uh, tanks at the same time, crypto was not saved. So what does it all mean now? I think we have again like consistent uh, increases in positive activity related to the banking, related to custody. US banks are now being allowed to custodize crypto. All these things that used to be impossible to do are coming out in a positive way every day, and it's a bit of a shame that all of that's not really is being washed out at the moment by bigger forces of the so-called tariffs and everything else. But my takeaway is I'd spoken with Gene and Aaron and the rest of the team about what happened when I was in New York a month ago. It was incredible. That was the best event that we've been to in 6 years, by far and away, because it was real companies, real businesses, real money, and intelligent people, and a super majority of discussions focusing on RWA, not just us, of course, but in terms of the panels and the side events. So everyone's really bullish on it, and that's also because meme coins, other altcoins, most of them have been absolutely smashed. And the use case around other types of crypto assets is still questionable or often short lived. Things like the metaverse, although they might be making some sort of comeback, um, RWA is clearly real, and those real on chain RWA assets are growing, and you can see them, and it's growing, and it will continue to grow, and it won't stop growing. And so the real use case for what we're doing here is being highlighted, even more so now that the lack of use case in other crypto assets is very clear, and therefore, they're not getting a bid, and there's a lot of negativity and pessimism out there. But again, this is like, I guess this feels like kind of a mini bear market to most people, but we've been here for about 6 years. Like, this is probably the third time this has happened. People are jumping off buildings. Everyone's crying. This is the end. There's not going to be altcoin season. It's all over again. And I think it couldn't be further from the truth. So I think that the actual um, world macroeconomic situation will sort itself out fairly soon, and then hopefully we'll get back on track, and see a lot more of this positive momentum in the space actually um, translating into more capital, more stable coins being bought, more RWA, and ultimately up a lot of upswing for us at IXS. So that's kind of how I see it. I'm not concerned. Well, I should say this. I'm not worried. It's concerning because it'd be nice if it wasn't, if we didn't have the last couple of months. But at the same time, I think again, it's much bigger than out of our hands to control. But I think there'll be resolution soon, and I think things will get back on track. And then I'm still very confident, personally, in cycles. I still believe in the cycles, and I still believe that we're going to move into a bull market again. And I might be wrong, but I believe in that, and I'm not worried. So we just have to hold out and keep on building, as Gene said. So moving along to more platform related, we have, we were very early in the space, and we built IX Swap, which has been now transformed into just IXS. And we built IX Swap originally as the first DEX that could legally trade RWA tokens with licenses, and we built it. And the team did a fantastic job. It was very early. It was early to a point of there weren't any treasury tokens and money market and publicly traded tokens that have a lot of liquidity because of the nature of those assets. Uh, and those publicly traded Wall Street assets have really come to find product market fit over the last 12 to 18 months. Remember when we launched IXS 2+ years ago. So when we launched, there were only these private assets. Most of them were small. Most of them didn't have it at much scale, and therefore it was hard to get real liquidity behind them because the issuers were meant to front up the liquidity to start the liquidity pool, which is how it works on Uniswap for crypto. The challenge there was because the projects globally were quite small. There wasn't a lot of capital from the issuers to do that. So we successfully got version one up. It had version one issues. We put up a certain amount of pools, and the assets themselves were the best that we could find in the world, even though maybe they weren't the greatest assets in the world. But we can't do everything. We can't provide all the tech, all the licenses, all the launch pads, the community behind it, and then find the assets and buy the assets and put all the liquidity behind them. Although that's what everyone expected us to do, it's basically literally impossible. So what we've evolved into, by the nature of the demand for services, the necessary play for us to build a launch pad. So we could, the reason why we built a launch pad is because we were like, there's not enough good quality assets. We can't sit around just waiting for them to come to the decks. We need to build some primary insurance platform first so we can launch more projects to get into the decks. So how do we help ourselves? And the original reason we built IXSwap in the first place, because there was zero liquidity solutions for the RWA industry, and we built that for us as the platform Investor X. So we've been constantly building things that we need, that the industry needs, and we've just been way out in front, and we've been very early. Um, and then with that comes a lot of challenges. So, in a positive light, what's happened recently, we see the opportunity forming around IXS. We see the institutionalization of the asset class. We see Wall Street coming in now full speed. 2 3 years ago, they weren't it was non-existent almost. So things have changed. Now that means the assets that have found product market fit, that do have liquidity, because of they've got multiple use case. You can take these treasury tokens, or high quality institutional asset tokens. You can use them in multiple ways. You can use them as collateral. You can borrow against them. You can loan on them. A lot of things that we tried to do with private assets that proved to be still very difficult. So, we now see the asset type evolving. We now see a much different buyer pool. So before, we were all about kind of B2C model. How do we get these assets to everybody and open that up, which is still possible today. But we also saw this opportunity that we have been thinking about for many years, is to become, the key infrastructure and this exchange settlement layer for all these RWA assets, and be a partner for crypto exchanges and fintechs that have hundreds of millions of users, but they can't legally buy and sell RWA. So that was, the biggest announcements in the space from a meaningful way. There's a lot of rubbish talked about in blockchain, but from a meaningful way, the Union Chain joint venture with 25 million users in the crypto exchanges and the Line Super App are the most meaningful distribution relationships ever created in the history of RWA, that we were first to do again, and then we're building out. And the reason they're the most meaningful is because there's real users there with real appetite, in a structured way, in a partnership, signed off on contracts to deliver these assets to these buyers. Where, most RWA platforms are just running around trying to get anyone to register on them and to buy their assets, which is, it's tough. And I mean, that's the way it is when you start. That's what you have to do. So we're solving those issues, and it's heavy lifting and great work from the team, building those relationships, breaking down the value proposition, getting through the insane amount of legal and compliance, negotiating a business agreement that is attractive for both sides, finding the assets to do that, building the tech and product to make the UX UI, and that's the story, all right? And that now, what I just broke down then is months, if not years of work, and I even simplified it. And it's very, people with massive user bases coming into a new asset class, they'll just go work with anyone. That's why no one's ever announced anything like this. There's an insane amount of scrutiny, and credit to the team. We made that happen. We're making that happen, and we're growing that. We're growing that. We have a lot of crypto exchanges that we're negotiating with now that want to sell RWA assets, and with our backend and infrastructure, and they can actually do that. Now, some of you would probably be able to find RWA assets on big crypto exchanges today. I'm not going to name any of them, but that's all basically illegal. So one by one, that's going to kind of fall apart, and they're going to have to come and work with groups like ours, or go line up and get licenses that take many years to secure. But so we're in a really good spot there, and there's no one really who's got the same kind of model that we have, which again is built off nearly 6 years of licensing and development of everything from structures to you know legal structures, investment structures, tokens, smart contract structures, technology, et cetera. So uh, yeah, so look, that's been absolutely monumental. I think extremely exciting, and again, very frustratingly kind of washed out right now. And then the whole market's kind of uh, a bit deflated right now, and there's not much excitement out there, which again ebbs and flows, and I wouldn't be too worried about that. But that's something that we're going to start to crank up again. There's the business team's hard at work behind closed doors, signing up and looking for more partnerships in that manner that delivers real value and real buyers and real assets. So that's kind of things that Gene had touched on before, related to the um, the new partnerships that we've been working on. And then again, yeah, hats off to the team. The new IXS.finance is the new home of the platform. IXS driving the token name as the platform name. I think it's just simplifies life. It takes the focus away from just swapping, because that's not all we would do. And then the swap wasn't a good definition of what we do as a business model, and how many platforms, protocols, and assets we can actually help as kind of this key settlement layer for everyone, tying that all together. Now, I've been asked a lot about what the recent issues with Mantra and a few of the other uh, um, tokens out there. I mean, and what were my thoughts on it? First of all, we are built protocol agnostic, so we're here to help all those assets and all those protocols. So if anyone out there is claiming to have really issued RWA tokens, they can come to IXSwap and start a liquidity pool. So if they haven't done that, that might sort of define whether it's really happened or not, or whether it's really true or not. Again, I think I don't have anything negative to say about any of these groups because you know it's a new space, it's new technology. As everybody knows, people will say anything to sell their tokens. But I think for us, what you'll find out now as this year unfolds is that the real projects and the real builders and the real assets will come to light. None of the big brands are going to work with the Mickey Mouse shows and the people that are just talking a big game. They're going to lift off the lid. They're going to do a serious compliance deep dive, and 99% of these guys are going to fail. And that's just the reality of it. You're not going to risk your company as an institution working with a new startup, which is already risky. Even if they're a good startup and they're doing things properly, there's already huge risk for the brand, and they're only going to select and work with people that tick all the boxes and that pass very, very rigorous systems. So, I think ultimately the team's done a great job to secure and maintain all these licenses, which if you're not in the space, you'd have no idea how difficult that is, both from a time, cost, compliance, ongoing management. It's extremely difficult. Um, but our team does it and we're doing it and we continue to do it. And this will pay, this will start to pay off this year, I think. And so, I mean, I've been talking kind of a lot, and maybe I'll pass it over to Aaron to give some insights into where we're at right now, and what might be coming ahead. Well, sorry, let me just finish on kind of wrapping up the US stuff. So again, from what I see, and I was on the ground there for a couple of weeks, and we're going back in June to the XCC and Silicon Valley plug and play RWA accelerator as one of the 8 companies that was chosen, I think. Extremely bullish, amazing new partnerships in play, real business, America, huge capital, huge brain power, huge asset base. Very large percent of our website traffic is USA and has been for many years. We haven't onboarded the USA groups yet, but it's certainly our plan to make that happen. And we're deep in the woods working that out right now. But I'm very, very excited to finally see America coming on board. And I think it's going to change the game for us and the industry. So that's kind of my initial thoughts. And Aaron, I'll pass it over to you.
Cool. Hey guys. Yeah, let me just give you a quick update, I guess, on the business sales side and also on the product as well. On the business side itself, I think as Julian mentioned, we are speaking to multiple institutional groups right now, asset managers that are looking to list their assets on IXS to be distributed to all our distribution partners that we've been connecting to and are still connecting to more right now. And of those funds, we'll most likely see a money market fund and a corporate bond fund come up um, within the next month or two at least. And then shortly after, we will have a credit fund that's coming on board as well. And there is a reason, there is a rationale to, I guess, the type of assets that we're looking at and the sequence of it as well. The T-bills and money market funds will be the first asset that we'll bring on board, and that's because it's low on the risk curve, and then we intend to move out the risk curve as we add more assets to the platform to distribute to our distribution partners, the centralized exchanges, and the super apps that we're connected to right now. So that's coming down the line. We've also signed up. Oh well, we're in the process of signing up another 3 distribution partners right now. All centralized exchanges in different jurisdictions of the world, with some in South Africa and some in South America as well. So that's on the distribution side for this month. Also, we are looking at another two SaaS clients to come on board as well. There has been a slight delay again with one of the SaaS clients that we have. They've been developing with us for over the last year already, but hopefully they'll start launching within the next couple of months as well. What else is there? And on the product side, we've actually upgraded the Launchpad contracts in the last couple of weeks as well. We've added additional security measures to both the smart contracts and the infrastructure itself. We've added 2 security companies One's a smart contract monitoring company, and the other is a cybersecurity company that we've added to the systems just to enhance security. And these are all important components, as Julian has mentioned as well, because once you start working the larger institutions, they want the whole infrastructure set up, licensed, and make sure everything is clean. There's a third party custodian. So it's all these items are coming down the line. It's just taken us a while to get here. And on top of that, we've also been implementing some new functions on the launchpad as well. So if you see for the subsequent launchpad projects that are coming on board, there will be price differentiations between the different rounds that are inbuilt rather than us having to create multiple deals going forward as well. So those are some updates on the business and the product side. Maybe I'll pass on to Jean to give some updates on the marketing.
Yeah, thanks for that, Aaron. A lot of great stuff there. I guess from the marketing and rebranding stuff, I know a lot of you have been asking questions. Hopefully, a lot of them have been answered already. But just to touch some points there, like as Julian mentioned, right, when IXSwap was first built, it was to solve liquidity in the industry. And over time, what we've realized is from STOs to RWAs, that industry has changed. And so has IXS, from IXSwap to IXS to the institutional settlement the institutional exchange settlement layer. It's just an evolution that makes sense, and it's a rebrand that's been we've been working for the whole of Q1, and it's how and the way that it's been working now is that it's pulling a lot of traffic from all the right places. As Julius mentioned, USA has always been a market that's always been heavily interested in IXS, but now more than ever following the rebrand as well. Another thing that we've noticed as well is that people are starting to get it that IXS is not more than just a launch pad and DEX. It's more than just about primary issuance and secondary trading. And now we're actually providing the institutions what they're looking for, which is a modular L0 where you can get access to tokenization SaaS distribution partners, and a lot of that is kind of evident. And a lot of things that we will be sharing down the pipeline, but we can't as of the moment. But I think it's a rebrand that's just put IXS in a position that it's never been before, right? A lot of interest from financial institutions, a lot of interest from sectors as well. So I guess with the rebrand, it might be too soon right now to share some more numbers with you guys, but as of right off the bat, we can say that we've never been in a position that we better before, and that's all I can say about the rebrand as of the moment. Cool. I guess yeah, Julian, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I was just going to say there was some more questions about the US side of things, and expansion progress here. So what needs to so the reality of the situation on regulation is that it all looks extremely positive. Um, well, sorry, yes, we've heard uh, stablecoin legislation coming out, banking, custody legislation, crypto, RWA, etc. And but that has to materialize, right? So regulations don't change at the snap of a finger. There's a lot of churn that has to happen. So we've only gone from 3 4 months ago with like the SEC. Gary Gensler was a disaster, attacking all projects, good and bad. Um, and really, the choke point 2.0, the debanking of crypto, which was like a targeted US government strategy. And it's all unfolding now. Nick Carter wrote a really long report about it the other day, which is hoping to push for there's a lot of people that are extremely upset, all the way to trying to place criminal charges on some of the government of officials involved in this, because they claim it was illegal activities, which that'll all wash out. But my point is, this was only just a couple months ago. So we're speaking with lots of different groups, lawyers, licensed groups, licensees, developing the strategy. I think that um, so it's 100%. Um, well, this is the way that I think that we think about it. Like, we're 100% going in, but we are working out the best way to do that. So again, it's work in progress, right? It's definitely fluid, and it's much better than it has been before, but it's all still very, very fresh. So it's not necessarily a great idea just to make some really definitive decisions um, at least in the first month or two of the administration. But I think it's fairly close to seeing some more concrete output from that. And again, like, I'm just trying to, what we're just trying to, we've been looking at America for 4 or 5 years. One of the co-founders, Alice, is American, wondering when we could see America come to the marketplace, but all the American startups, most of them are leaving America because they were getting attacked by the regulators. So yeah, so again, like, so the landscape's evolving. It's evolving in a very positive way. The US is very complex, different states, different regulations, different rules. So yeah, so all I can say is we're 100% focused on making that happen. We have to juggle, what we're all dealing with, which is an administration that says one thing, does another, extreme comments, changes their plan every day. I mean, everyone can see that, and that's the same on the regulation front per se, but don't it's not as volatile as say the tariff discussions. Yeah, so it's a little bit it needs some time, but it's 100% in our frameworks, and we're working on making that happen. Thanks, Gene.
All right, thanks for that, Julian. I guess we could jump into the rest of the other questions here. Aaron, did you want to dive into that, or do you want me to read the questions out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I can dive straight into it. There was a question on the SaaS partners and when are they going to be launching? Right now we have one, two, three, uh, five paying SaaS partners. Only one of which has launched. Unfortunately, we can't make any of these announcements until the clients are ready to go live. One has already gone live, and that's One Asset Exchange. They are the group that's actually doing the movies, and they've launched the Demon Hunters film from their end as well. They are looking at significantly more movies. I've seen the pipeline of movies that they have. Pretty interesting stuff. But what they are working on right now is more on the distribution side or buy side, which is what I guess most platforms have an issue with. Another one that I've mentioned before is also the Honey Asset group. They have been working for over a year already. Same thing as I mentioned, the Thai group. They've been up for over a year already. That hasn't launched yet. Most of these funds are planning to go live within, I guess, the next 6 months or so. So hopefully we'll see them come live on the IXS platform and start opening up distribution for us and getting more assets on that as well. Second question here was that, are we intending to add any fiat on-ramps into the platform? Yes, we do intend to. It's been in the backlog for quite some time, but the recent JV that we've done um, with the centralized exchanges, that will allow us to on-ramp fiat significantly faster. A big reason for that JV as well was that the centralized exchanges are meant to be the user base plus the pay-fi component of it, which means that they will be the ones that are supposed to help facilitate these on-ramps. And then IXS will be the ones that are facilitating the RWA assets on the other end. So that's on the fiat side. On the assets that are coming on board, I think I did mention it quickly that there is a private credit and money market fund and a corporate bond fund coming on first, followed by a private credit fund that we're speaking to right now. Those are the main ones that are very, very close. These have been discussions for over 3-4 months already. So like we mentioned earlier, these larger institutions do take some time because the DD compliance, legal work around it takes quite a fair bit of time. And then I guess the last the other question we have here is how do we see RW adoption, and are we still early? I think it's accelerating behind the scenes. So I think as Julian mentioned before as well, there has been a lot of activity behind the scenes. The quality of the clients that we're speaking to now have significantly changed. From the one guy trying to tokenize his house in some random country that might not be available for most people to trade on, to big institutions like BlackRock, Fidelity, State Street. We are speaking to most of these funds right now to see what might be appropriate to start bringing on board onto the platform. But these discussions will take some time, so just bear with us while we go through this and then onboard these bigger assets into IXS. And I think the last question, are there any updates on IXS becoming the first RWA platform to activate on Bitcoin? We have been working on some stuff and quite intensively. We will not be sharing any of this information until we go live. We will only make the announcements once our first clients and the first products go live with the deals executed. And this is mainly because we want to avoid people copying us, which has been rampant in the past. So yeah, that's it on the Bitcoin product for now. I think those were the only questions, Gene, that we had for now.
All right, thank you for those answers, Aaron. Yeah, Julian, were you gonna add something to that?
No, I'm not going to say anything. Don't want to say anything.
All right. Uh,
Yeah, people are just going to have to wait.
yeah, okay. I guess then we could leave it on that note for this month's monthly AMA. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that quick, short session that we've had. I hope we've answered a lot of the questions that you guys have been answering. And if not, you guys can always just pop into the channel, ask a few questions, and we'll always be online to answer them. I guess before we officially end this AMA and the first one for Q2, is there anything else that you guys would like to say to our audience?
Um, Aaron, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage everyone to stay tuned to the space. I know market hasn't been great for quite some time now, and I have seen some people trying to lead the space right now because they've been burnt out. I would suggest to everyone to stay in the space and stay tuned to what's going on because there is a lot of ramp up going on in the background, especially on the RWA side. AI and RWAs are probably the biggest narratives right now. Well, real narratives with actual use case to it. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining today, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that. Yeah. Go ahead, Julian.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, yeah, like maybe we've been around, for a lot longer than most, but like the velocity of improvements and activity um, in the RWA space has never been better or bigger or faster at any time since the industry started. And the industry started, I'd say, 2018. It's probably the real kickoff. So that's why maybe we're slightly jaded than new entrants to the marketplace, where people, as Aaron said, leaving the industry and going back to university and getting a different job or going to AI or whatever it is. Um, it's just part of the development of any new technologies that you have these huge swings both ways. But yeah, the underlining is the words, the mission, and the vision that we saw 6 years ago is coming to fruition, and it hasn't ever waved. It's just been about timing. So like now is actually kind of the best time ever to be getting involved in the space, because it's not just like us. When we started, we were like the only ones in Asia talking about it, and no one had a clue what anything was, and we were trying to work it all out. And and that's gone from every single day. There's a conversation in the company with a financial institution on one side or a crypto exchange on the other, and it's like it's big business, and it's forming around it. So again, from our perspective, my perspective at least, like it's never been more bullish. And if you're only focused on the token and the token price, then that's up to you. But looking at that every 5 seconds isn't really a healthy way to live. We all know, at least you should know now, that historically crypto has been very cyclical, as is every asset class out there. And so if you think about cycles, the cycles are many years long, which is what my suggestion for people to kind of reduce their daily pain of freaking out about the price and thinking, I'm here for a cycle, and you should be, as a minimum, and that cycle's meant to be whatever, a year or two out from here. So instead of stressing yourself out every day about it, Just getting more involved, learning more, and seeing how to get yourself up to speed and understand more and more and more about this as this evolves from, again, the original launching of our RWA token, the DEX models, the lending borrowing that's coming out, the crossover between the DeFi platforms and the TradFi platforms. And I heard Kraken today started launching tokenized stocks. So there's RWA, Robinhood's got crypto. So I mean, again, that's just two examples. There's the biggest M&A deals ever in the history of digital assets is happening this year, and there's already been like two or three of them, and there's like multiple IPOs in the pipeline, and there's multiple, and the M&A activity